So this is our 2316 project. I'm Andrew Decker, and this is,
Will Augustine.
and we're trying to find out what happens to forgotten pets.
For our topic, we are searching for trends to explain why some pets may have a higher rate of abandonment than others, or to disprove premonitions about certain animals or breeds that are commonly held in society. And to do this, we are looking at species data as a whole, as well as phenotypical data within a species. And we have also done analysis through the scope of time, and we are comparing our sample data to countrywide surveys conducted by larger associations to analyze validity.
So our purpose and interest of doing this project is that animal shelters around the globe are being overcrowded right now, and to combat that, they're having to use euthanasia and killing innocent animals. And so one of our interests to do this project was that me and Will both have experience with fostering dogs and the foster system in general. And we want to find trends to possibly remedy this issue that's plaguing stray animals around the United States. So we chose our CSV file from data.gov that has animal control incidents in Louisiana. Our JSON file comes from the database from Long Beach, California that has animal shelter information. And our final HTML comes from a Humane Society website that has survey data that we use to analyze our data.
To clean the animal control incident CSV, we first removed an X that appeared before some words in the breed column, and we removed duplicate rows based upon the subset incident date and incident time, because despite some rows being total duplicates, they still had different call numbers, so we had to find a different subset to operate on. And we removed rows lacking relevant information by creating a has details column so they could easily be added in or filtered out using a true or false value. On the same file, we also regulated how the color was displayed, as it came in a variety of formats in the raw data. So these were mapped using a color mapping dictionary created using the most common abbreviations, and also regulated colors such as chocolate or brindle to brown for the sake of grouping.
For cleaning the JSON, we turned the neutered and spayed information to male and female for clarity. We also removed the null where the data is unknown and subbed it out for unknown. We converted some dates to match our CSV file, and we did that using the datetime module. And we also removed an unnecessary asterisk for some of the animals. And we manipulated this using pandas, and we also exported the cleaned data as a CSV. For the HTML, we gathered the tables on the website using Beautiful Soup, and we converted them to data frames using pandas. And all the NaN values in the table we subbed out for not listed, and we made a list of these tables, so a list of data frames, and then we exported them all as different CSVs.
For our first insight, we are looking for trends in the distributions of animal species and then furthermore in breeds of the animal control and animal shelter data sets. So to do this, we filtered both CSV files and concatenated them into a series and grouped this by our targeted group by whether it is species or breed or color, and then returned the results as data frames. So here you can see the output from the code on the previous slides. As for the percentage of shelter intakes and animal control incidents by species, so this uses both data sets. Dogs and cats make up a vast majority of the data, followed by wildlife, which is primarily accounted for by the animal control incidents data set. And if you look at the percentage of dog-related animal control incidents by breed, Pit Bull represents a shockingly high amount of this total set. And this could be explained by the mistreatment of the breed as well as the stereotype that comes with the breed. So people entering into the animal control data set may be more likely to enter pit bull information as they feel it's more relevant. And here is a visual representation of the distribution of total species represented in the animal shelter database and the animal control incident database. This makes it much easier to see the great proportion held by cats and dogs.
So for our second insight, we saw that incidents reached an all-time low in 2020, and we estimate that this is probably due to the pandemic and less people being out because of it, therefore less people to report incidents. But since then, it's been rebounding and it's also been increasing. So now the values are back at the pre-pandemic levels, and actually they're even higher. And we created a visual showing this information as seen here. Furthermore, on Insight 2, we saw that the summer months correlated with a higher rate of incidents, and we estimate that this is due to more people being outside and more animals being outside due to the nice weather. But an outlier we saw was that April actually had the lowest incident rate per month, and one of the reasons we thought this is because maybe April has the highest amount of rainfall, therefore not as many people are out. However, the data for Los Angeles and Baton Rouge does not support this, so we really have no idea why this outlier is. And so the incidents per month we graphed as shown here.
The third insight, we're focusing specifically on animals taken into shelter or involved in an animal control incident that were classified as stray. To do this, we filtered our data sets down to only include rows that had the tag stray, and then did some calculations on totals and found the death rate using the total and the income and outcome status of animals at the animal shelter. So the first two lines of output at the bottom represent both the animal control and the animal shelter database, while the remaining four lines are found only from the animal shelter database. And from this data, you can see that there are almost twice as many stray cats that were taken into shelter compared to dogs, leading to a much higher death rate because in order to make room for this quantity of cats coming in, they have to also go out, which unfortunately means sometimes euthanasia. To search for trends in the age of dogs coming into shelter from the animal shelter database, we started by calculating the age of each dog checked in with enough relevant information by subtracting the date of birth from the intake date listed on the sheet using the date time module, and then performing some statistical analysis on this list of numbers. There were many entries observed in the ages that were incorrect, such as a negative age or an unreasonably large age. So these were factored out using a function to get rid of outliers. Outliers were defined as being more than 4 standard deviations from the mean. And then the mean, median, and standard deviation of the ages were calculated and printed in a dictionary, which is on the next slide. So as you can see, the average age of dogs coming into shelter is 2.3 years old, the median is 1 year, and the standard deviation is 3.19. And this data shows that the quantity of puppies that are coming into shelter is much greater than older dogs. And this could be explained by the low rate of neutering or spaying stray animals. So these animals are born on the street, or people that buy a puppy and then discover that they don't have the means to take care of it, so they dump it off to a shelter.
And so for this insight, we used the APPA survey web scrape from the HTML to compare the results of neutered versus spayed cats and dogs with our own shelter information on whether they were neutered or spayed. And what we found was animals in the shelter are much less likely to be fixed, and around a 40% difference. So this is leading to the problem of overcrowding to be exacerbated because these animals are reproducing without control and further crowding these shelters. And so we graphed the comparison as shown here and also displayed our data we found from our analysis.
Conclusions to draw from our analysis include the sheer number of stray dogs and even more so cats in the United States is overwhelming shelters. So these animals are being forced out or euthanized to make space for newer animals coming in. And these large number of strays are contributed to by the low rate of stray animals being spayed or neutered that was shown earlier in our insights. Additionally, the pit bull's alarmingly high frequency in animal control incidents can be partially explained by general mistreatment of the breed. Often these dogs are bred to be aggressive or taught to be aggressive for the sake of intimidation or defense, and then these dogs no longer are able to live in a family home or live in a shelter safely, so they're often brought in and euthanized. And the survival rate in shelters can be increased by offering means other than euthanasia to house animals. This could be foster care or just better living conditions outside, even.
So the most immediate way we can take action is to volunteer to foster animals. Another way is to adopt your pets rather than purchasing them from a breeder. And this problem's especially common in college students, and I've seen it personally with friends that live in home park. But we need to make sure that when we adopt these animals, that we are fully committed to taking care of them, so that we're not returning them. And we also need to support efforts that are spaying and neutering stray animals, so that the overcrowding problem can hopefully get smaller with less animals reproducing. We also included a GUI that shows what percentage of dogs and cats in shelters actually look like your own personal dog or cat.